Welcome to Baking with Frank. Frank Rush was a baker at the turn of the 20th century at the Uffelman Baking Company in Cincinnati, and then at his own bakery in Newport, Kentucky. Frank was also my great-grandfather. Through his handwritten batch-sized recipe book, I'm breaking down his recipes and getting to know him better. I'm Tom Mattingly, and this is Baking with Frank. All right, welcome back to Baking with Frank. So, we've got a little bit of a special edition. Last week is a significant birthday for our beloved Aunt Sue. You've met Aunt Sue before a couple of times, once in France as we were walking around looking at bakeries, and then again for the pretzels, which I hear some of you have been giving her grief about that we didn't get around to posting the final pictures. We'll do that someday, but they're just so darn delicious. So knock it off. All right, back to us. So it will be Aunt Sue's birthday, and we're going to do something a little special for her. So we are baking Effie's chocolate layer cake. So this is a vanilla cake with chocolate icing. Now, I'll admit that when I started doing this 20 minutes ago, I assumed this would be a chocolate cake. It is not. I could probably figure out how to make it a chocolate cake, but that wouldn't be true to Effie's recipe. So we're going with what we got. All right, cool. So, and the other piece is, we're also going to double it. I think the recipe looks like it's going to be a single layer. We want to do a double layer because extra special for Aunt Sue. So, we are going to, in the bowl here, come on down, put in 2/3 of a cup of shortening, along with 2 cups of sugar. And we are going to cream those together. I can get everything to work here. Here we go. We'll come back when that's done. All right, so we're just about there. Going in with 2 eggs. 1, 2. There they are. Come on. That's 1. That's the other one. Well, a little bit of a shell in there. We'll get that out because that won't be delicious. There we go. All right, and off we go. Okay, that's starting to look like something delicious. So we're just going to go ahead with the rest of the wet ingredients. So this is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract going in, and 2 cups of milk. In this case, I'm using half and half because we think that's what they would have had, right? Yeah. Certainly would have been more common. Effie picked up Frank's book, as some of you know. After Frank passed in 34, she picked it up in 38 and started adding her recipes. She died in the early 50s. I think 53, if my memory is serving. I've had a cold, so you know how that goes. So, what we know is this cake has been made since at least 1953. So, got here 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and her recipe then calls for an additional, for the single layer, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, which would be 8 teaspoons of baking powder. There's already some leavener in this, so I'm just going to stick to the 4, because I'm not sure I have a tall enough oven if I put more than that in. All right, we're going to start adding this in. I'm going to get a certified mom spoon. Right there, for your viewing pleasure. And let's mix this in. Oven is preheating at 350. It's also interesting to note that Effie's recipe specifically calls for royal baking powder, which I think they still make. It's not what we generally see here in Cincinnati, Ohio these days. But that tells me she probably got it off of a can or something like that. Got this recipe off the can. She didn't get off of her can. Well, she probably did get off of her can a few times. But anyway, for this recipe, got it off the baking powder can. You know what I mean. Also, when's the last time you made a cake from scratch. I'm going to say for me it was never, other than, you know, what I made here with you. But this type of birthday cake, not so much. Get the rest of this flour in, and I'll scrape down the sides because it looks like it's piling up on the sides a bit. I'll give it a little tasteroo. Let's get all this mess out of the way. Alright, I know you're not supposed to do this too, but I'm gonna, because, you know, cake batter is objectively delicious. It tastes like cake. Alright, so we are gonna pull this little gentleman off of here. I finally realized why I call things a little gentleman. That's one of my dad's phrases, but you know, neither here nor there. We're gonna pull this little fella off and get everything we can off of there because we want to preserve all that goodness. I don't know if I've said, but if not, here we go again. Oven's preheating at 350. And the recipe says to bake these for 15 to 20 minutes. I don't bake a lot of cakes, other than the ones that I do with Frank. So, but that sounds like a very fast time to me. But we'll see. Make sure everything's mixed in here. Into a greased and floured pan. And another greased and floured pan. You know what I mean. It's roughly even. At least it will when I get this in. Now, I'm going to warn all of you that because it's for a birthday, because we're having a party, that I will do my darndest to get some pictures of the final taste. But, you know how those things go. As you saw with other parties that happened here at this domicile. So you'll forgive me, I'm sure, if in the celebration of Aunt Sue, I don't do this. But I do promise I will do my darndest. All right, so 2 cakes going in for 15 to 20. Yep, 15 to 20. We'll see where we get. So 15 minutes was a pipe dream. 20 minutes was a pipe dream. In the end, we end up going almost 35 minutes on these little fellers. So yeah, don't always believe what royal baking powder tells you. But in the end, we have 2 lovely cakes here cooling. Once they're cooled off, we're going to give them a couple hours to cool. Once they're cooled off, we will trim them up and then work on some frosting. Oh, also probably a really good time for you to hit the like and the follow buttons. Aunt Sue will want it for her birthday. All right, y'all, it's icing time. So, Effie's icing seems to be a hot water icing. Is that a thing? I'm not sure, but it is. So, we've got 3 cups of, take a look at this, 3 cups of powdered sugar, to which we will add enough boiling water to make a paste. Let me get something to sit this on, because I have a feeling this is going to take a second. All right, so I'm not even going to try to measure this, but enough to make a paste. Just keep that in mind. A little more. So we're going to add to, once we've got to the paste stage, we're going to add this, a teaspoon of vanilla and 2 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. Now, I don't have any unsweetened chocolate in the house, so we're going with cocoa powder and oil, which will work just fine, I'm sure. That's probably a little more than a paste. It's probably more like a glaze, but I don't mind that. It'll all work out. I'll just add some more sugar to it. Or refrigerate it, or, you know, whatever. We'll figure it out. Yeah, I think that's a paste. I don't know. What's your paste look like? All right. So to that, we are adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Carefully measured. That much. And chocolate, which 2 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. So this is 3 level tablespoons plus 1 tablespoon of oil equals 1 ounce. So 6 of these. And then I'm going to use olive oil, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Yes, this is extra virgin. I don't know if that really matters in this case, but in case you were wondering, yes it is. All right, so we'll give that a stir, and that's it per the recipe. Okay, I had concerns there for a second, but we're starting to get to something that looks like fudge anyway. Put another splash of water in. Just to loosen it up a little bit. It smells really good, I'll tell you that. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, that's tasty. All right, not gonna make you watch me ice the cake, because that would be boring. You've seen that before. Stay tuned for the photos, if I remember.
He's about to go get his phone.
What do you think?
Yeah, did Tom make this?
That's it? Just good?
Yeah. I'm baking with Frank.